Hey, I'd be episode number 392. What's up, Scott?
Hey, how's it going?
Going all right, man.
We're into March.
I know. And it's raining today, and go from 50 to 20 in a matter of a minute today, it sounds like. And so, yeah, they say March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. I'm hoping that lamb is some trees starting to bloom and more 60-degree weather than not.
Yeah, hopefully. It's only, 2 weeks away, so...
Yeah, we're getting there. In fact, this coming weekend we do the time change where we get to spring forward, and that's so. And then we got Eric tuning in. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Eric.
All right. I'm sure Eric is, and this is sarcasm, real excited for the new Snow White movie coming out. To keep advertising the heck out of that. They could quit doing these live action remakes at Disney. It just, of course, this is the one that we've talked about many times. It just keeps getting delayed because of other crap. So yeah, he's waiting for some warm weather as well. Actually, I hate the cold, and I know I was talking about it today. This morning, Mom was like, "Why don't we live down somewhere warm?" Well, it's not as easy to just up and move, but I don't want to. So,
well, you have a hideout down in Tampa.
Yeah. It's just work down there is different for me than up here because it's trying to ship down there, and I'm not in a normal regular place down there, and I don't know the stores, so it's like being brand new again. So it's not like I can just say, well, I'll go down there for a few months. I mean, I could within a month, I'd probably have it down, but it's just one of those things where I'd rather just work up here than travel and go somewhere warm for a little bit.
So. Oh, exactly.
And Eric, I say, he is also very excited for the new Snow White. I love Eric's reviews. If you're friends with him on Facebook, he gives the most honest reviews on this stuff. And I love how he does it, Eric. I love how you do that, Eric. It's just great reviews. Sometimes I know I'm not wanting to see it. I want to see what you have to say. And then there's times I'm like, well, if he says it's good, maybe I'll check it out. But hasn't been one yet that you've said was bad that I've wanted to check out after the fact. So it's always good there. So, hey, let's knock out your ad read and then we'll get into it.
All right, Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize the home buying and or selling experience, we never forget at the core, it's a people business. And with spring coming up, we're starting to pick up phone calls, people who are talking about getting their houses on the market and stuff. So the predictions are we're going to see an increase in the number of listings. So if you're frustrated with the buying process, you've been trying this past year and you just kept getting outbid or you had a realtor who didn't respond quickly to your needs, and by the time you were able to see the house with them, it was already sold. Give us a call, 586-232-5144. Jill and I, we're a great team, and between the two of us, one of us is almost always available for you. We're very rapid with our response, and we do our searches 3 times a day. I talk about we utilize the latest in tools and technology, but we're selective about which ones we use. A lot of agents have everything automated. It does one search in the first thing in the morning, sends it out. They don't even know if an email went out or not. It just randomly goes to you. By the time you see it, respond to it, it could be sold. For us, we're manually doing your searches 3 times a day. Why? Because houses come on the market all throughout the day, not just at one point. And the second it hits, we email it to you. And because we email it to you, we then contact you to let you know we just sent it so you see it. Because a lot of times emails get lost in the shuffle. And nowadays, especially with AI controlling so many things, we recently read a report through Gmail, for instance, only 9% of professional emails make it through. They get thrown in spam automatically. So even if it's something you want, unless you actively mark it as not spam, Gmail can be hiding that on you. So we call you so you know to look for it, you don't miss it, and we can get you that house you want. So 586-232-5144. Now's the time to talk. Thinking about moving in June, we got to start now because it'll take you about 30 days to find the house. It'll take about 30 days to close, and the people selling the house might need 30 days to of occupancy before they move out, which means that's 90 days. If you start today, that's 90 days before you can even move in. So give us a call. We want to help you.
All right. So the Oscars were this past weekend, and I did end up watching. I didn't plan on it. I just turned it on, and I realized they started at 7. I was like, well, I was going to turn on. I like to see the openings. Realized I already missed the opening by half an hour or so. I was like, oh, I didn't think it started until 8. So in that, because I know Conan was hosting, didn't do too bad. What I saw, he did a couple jokes here and there. Very little political compared to years prior. I was surprised they actually did concentrate on the movies more this year. You had a few people make a couple statements here and there. But I like it when they just talk about the movies. And of course, most of the movies they got out now, I'm going, I've not seen any of them. So, and a lot of them had such limited releases. They don't get released. The one I've been wanting to see, I just haven't sat down and watched yet, is the one that Kieran Culkin won for. It's on Hulu. So I was going to check that out. Jesse Eisenberg, he's the one that wrote and directed it and co-starred in that. So,
well, also that Oscar secured him 2 more children.
Yeah, I saw that. I gotta say, I thought that was hilarious because
that was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I did see.
I loved showing the wife's reaction too at the time.
Well, yeah, she knew he should say it though. But
she's like, I did say that. She promised him 2 more kids if he won an Oscar, thinking he was never going to win one.
Yeah, I did see his brother's reaction. Macaulay was there with his wife Brenda, Song, and they were like, they were asking him like afterwards, like, what'd you do? He goes, well, I cried, of course. I was excited for my brother and all that stuff. And they go, well, did you see him? He goes, well, of course, he was front row center. Of course, he's gonna win. I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Just popping right on up there, but that wasn't too bad. I couple times I mute it when people get rambling on stuff, or again, I'm there just for the movies and things like that. Yeah. And the In Memoriam is something I always watch to see who I forgot has passed away in the past year. And I will say it's the best In Memoriam they've done in many years. They actually kept the camera on where you could read the people's names. And of course, they don't show everybody. People complain about that. Oh, Michelle Trachtenberg wasn't in it. Well, they do an online one if you want to see everybody. There's way too many. They'd spend an hour just going through every person they want to from the industry, because it's not just actors and directors. It's everybody. They had a guy on there that was owned a chain of movie theaters. That was a big deal or stuff like that. Yeah. And then I did like with the guy that won the best. He won Best Picture, Best Director. The main star won Best Actress, and won like 4 out of the 5 awards they're up for. And I did like he talked about movie theaters, getting back to the movies, stuff like that. And the whole time they're talking this, the one thing I thought in my head was, well, y'all need to start doing good movies then. You want to get people in the butts in the theaters, do good movies, get them out there, get people who are reason to go out there to enjoy the movies. And it all doesn't have to be these message heavy films, which is what most of the Oscar nominees felt like, was very message heavy films. So, but other than that, I don't get excited about the Oscars like I used to many years ago, when I actually truly felt like they were talking more about the movies than just themselves and their political beliefs. So.
Yeah, it's the people on the movie making sign. We've talked about this like crazy. I think a lot of people are activists in their heart, and they decide to become a certain profession to further their activist views. We've seen that in multiple industries, and Hollywood is one of those. So I think the disconnect they have is what they feel is entertaining isn't entertaining to the 80% of America who's like, I'm here for a fun ride.
Yeah.
Tell me a good story. I want to connect to the characters, and I want to leave my reality for 2 hours. Yeah. And enjoy this. That's what I want.
Yeah. Movies and even stage productions. And I studied this in college on both sides a little bit. It talked about different types and all this stuff. There is something for all those. You can create these movies that have your message, but if all we're seeing is all these movies that want to throw messages as hardcore, and that's all it is. And we talk movies that everybody talks about to this day, and not just our age group, but even the next generation down, even the current young generation, they talk about these movies that truly entertained them. What's been coming around again all these years? Well, we had more Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters, things like that. And a lot of these other movies are going to come and go, and nobody's going to really talk about them down the road, because they're not the movies that someone says, I just want to watch something and have fun. they're going to pop on something and have fun.
Yeah.
And how do I know I'm right? Eric says I'm right. So
There you go. There you go.
but I have no problem with
Well,
all these with messages,
mhm.
experimental type films, things like that. But the studios and
Yeah.
that need also, and not just make studio formulaic films. They need to allow people to create something new and exciting. And we just need a new,
Right.
younger, and
Well,
that's Spielberg can't do good movies
yeah.
still. We need a younger person like a Spielberg, a Lucas, even a Coppola in a lot of ways that could create these films that draw us to the theaters to see
Yeah.
stuff like they did back in the 70s and 80s, especially.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem there is we see it in music too.
Mhm.
On an independent level, those people exist. They're like, why don't they make good music anymore? There's tons of great music being made, but you have to find it.
Yeah.
You have to look for it.
If all you do is listen to Main Street Radio,
Yeah.
even the Sirius Radio, they have some indie channels, but for the most part, a lot of it's all the same stuff recycled
Right.
over and over. You have to go find these local bands just starting out there, or
Right.
bands that are traveling through, independent
Yeah.
bands, and you'll
Yeah.
find some music that you're looking for to continue
Yeah.
on with that. Now,
Yeah.
with real quick on the indie side, the film that won Best Picture and 3 other awards was 100% independently made film.
Right.
They got
Yeah.
financing, they did it, got it out there, and it was great.
Right.
But it's like we need more of that flavor, even on a bigger
Right.
scale.
Yeah. And it's society. I think the older generation has moved on, and our generation and down are moving into these roles of leadership, but they don't have the patience to let something grow. It either has to have immediate success in the moment, or it's ignored or canceled or whatever. And sometimes things need to grow. Seinfeld's one of the most popular shows ever. It bombed the pilot bombed. It did not do well the first season, but they gave it time. In a modern day era, Seinfeld never would have made it to a second season.
Well, what kind of helped with Seinfeld was there was a strike around that time, and basically it was easier to just renew something that they already had than to
Right.
try. They weren't have time to
Yeah.
cultivate something new. And so during that time, though, they come out that second season and they got the audience, and then when they got their audience, they were able to continue on.
Well, but even before then, the pilot completely bombed.
Oh no, that
But
first season bombed. The first season
but-
was not good at all in terms of
Yeah.
ratings and everything
but
else.
the studio gave them time to fix it and move forward, and that's where then Elaine got added. She wasn't in the original pilot. They added her as a character and developed. And anyways, my point is, the modern day music movie studios, these studios, they just want to use a basic formula, something fast, easy. It worked before, do it again. And they're not allowing things to cultivate.
In that regards, it's been like that since day one. You can go back to the 30s. You watch at the heyday of the movies, which is the sound era when it first really got going. And you had the silent people would go. They did a lot of the Nickelodeons. They did a lot of traveling films because that's kind of to get the word out there. But as the movie houses came around in the 30s, the thing they realized early on was the repetition and the things like that.
Oh, yeah.
In the 30s, you had the Gold Diggers of 32, 33, 34, 30. They kept going on, same thing over and over. Ziegfeld Folly Girls movies, blah, blah, blah. So the repetitiveness has always been there. What changes is in the different eras is when you get different directors that can really stand out and change things. You had like an Orson Welles changed a lot of stuff. It wasn't always the best stuff in terms of making tons of money, but he came out hard and stuff like that with the different movies he did after he did War of the Worlds. You had like a John Ford who revolutionized a genre that was already just heavy with films and kept it alone. The Westerns, you go look at his Westerns versus what was out there. He changed a lot of the way that people viewed those movies and stuff like that. You had different things that come out at with different actors, but it was mainly these directors and writers that helped work together to get stuff out there. And then the auteur era, starting in the 60s, where the writer and director was the same person a lot of times, then it changed. And also the code with having the movie code change to what was coming out, and you saw things change where they had a little bit of language, sometimes nudity, but they were able to be a little more grittier with some of their storytelling. We'd see things like a Warren Beatty, the movies he did starting in the 60s, stuff like that. They got very gritty and stuff like that. And like I said, you saw Lucas go, if you read Lucas's story, he kind of is like, well, this looks like fun. And he really, in the 60s, he just wanted to be, little more artistic with his filmmaking. He liked cars and things like that. So a lot of the student films centered around cars. He just like science fiction. And a lot of I don't know if he ever truly felt he'd get where I knew he didn't get to where he was, but if he'd been able to do things he wanted to do versus what he did do, we'd have a whole different thing. But when he realized doing his own stuff and creating independent films, American Graffiti, of course, in the Star Wars and things like that,
Well, as you know,
it changed a lot of the whole direction. And that's what we're missing right now is we're not getting these Lucas Spielberg stuff like that. Like talk about those two specifically, just because of the movies they did, especially in the 70s, that completely changed cinema, completely changed movie making. And they're films that we still all talk about today. And when when kids are growing up, it's like, oh, well, what do I show my kids? What do we said? No, we show them Indiana Jones. We show them Star Wars. We show them Jaws when they want a scary movie that's not too like horror movie stuff. And then when you get into horror, you get into other stuff. It's just that's the thing I think we're really missing from the movie going experience. And the only person that's kind of been bringing it the last few years on a consistent basis has been Tom Cruise. I mean, Maverick was a movie going experience. The Mission Impossible film he did, and the new one's going to come out. It's going to be a movie going experience. Right. I was looking through a list of these movies coming out this year. The Variety had that they're looking forward to. I'm not even go through them, but 90% of them all felt like those independent art house films that truly are not going to catch on to entertain multiple times. It's like you see it once you're done, and that's what a lot of these films has felt like lately. And even with I haven't seen the Best Picture one that won. It was, it sounded okay. I'm not sure, without seeing it, why it won, in terms of just the subject matter. But that to me sounded more like the way it went. And again, the whole thing with the Oscars though is they were all talking before they need more inclusion and stuff like that. Like see more women and all that stuff. I'm going, well, though you talk to the 5,000 people that are part of the Oscar community that nominate and vote, because that's the only way you're going to get it to happen. Putting everything out there and talking to regular people like me saying, well, none of these people get nominated. Why is that? I can't answer that because I'm not the one voting. I'm not the one nominating. That's the whole thing.
The thing is the body of people who are doing the voting are supposedly the most open-minded already.
Yeah.
So if they're not choosing them, then it's got to be because they're just not good.
Well, and that's the only thing I think of, and that's why I think everything should be is whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. If it's good, it gets nominated. If it's bad, nobody's going to care. But
that's all I care.
There's been some movies I've seen nominated. I watched going, why was this nominated? And things like that.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, the Oscars happened. I hadn't really planned on watching it. I just happened to be sitting there and figure I'll put it on for a minute, and it didn't necessarily keep me entertained, but there was a few things they were doing that I wanted to see. And a couple of them was the In Memoriam, since I'd stayed up long enough to watch it, and a couple other, talking with people, stuff like that. So
talking about the In Memoriam, we had Gene Hackman pass and his wife, which was shocking. A lot of strange stuff there going on. He together.
Sounds like his last thing on his pacemaker was the 17th of February. So they're saying he passed away then.
Yeah, and the autopsy or whatever indicated he died about that long ago.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, did he pass because the pacemaker wasn't working, and then did the wife kill herself with pills because they said pills were everywhere?
Yeah.
And then I guess they had 3 dogs. The dog that died, it was in a cage.
Yeah, it was in the house there with them, so he had no access to anything.
The 2 dogs who weren't in a cage were alive. So
yeah.
I'm thinking the dog starved or whatever to death. But so I don't know what happened there. It's just strange. What I find weird, though, is the initial report was no foul play. So a lot of people, myself included, were thinking carbon monoxide maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought the first thing. Yeah. And then they came back and said, no, that's not.
Yeah. So obviously something happened. I mean, with pills everywhere and,
Well, and that's the whole thing. The other thing I since everything what they've come out with, I figure is he died. The wife panicked, and it's not that she went and took a ton of pills and killed herself. They said they found her, and the pills had just been fell everywhere. I'm wondering if she didn't go in there and just had a heart attack from just being so upset.
Could be because she was. What is she, like 65 or something? She's 30 years younger. I think.
Yeah, she's like 63 or 65, something like that. So
yeah,
but you never know. I mean, it could have been such a stressful thing at the
traumatic.
moment and just
Could have.
hit her so hard. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens.
Well, that's a good point too. I don't think they specified what type of pills. It sounds suspicious when you say pills were everywhere,
Well, the
but
initial thing I read
we
on
don't know
from
what it is.
they have something from the sheriffs and they talk about the pills they got, and none of it sounded like the kind of pills you would take to, kill yourself. It sounded more like his heart meds,
Okay.
stuff like that. So, I mean, if she took him all kinds of heart meds and it slowed her heart down, that's where she just died. I guess I could have him, but it doesn't. I don't know. They're still investigating. They're waiting on the full
Yeah.
toxicologies, which will take
Yeah, it
several
was just
weeks.
shocking. The whole thing was
Yeah,
like, whoa, where'd this? It just like blindsides you, you know.
yeah,
And Gene Hackman is such a. I mean, he's been out of acting for so long, and when you look up, the most
yeah.
recent photos I found were from a year ago. I could walk past him and not even know it was him. He looked
Right.
so different at this age. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
he's
well, 95. So
95. Yeah,
now and he had a great career. He retired in 2004. He just decided he was done. And an interview with him several years later said, "Well, the work just kind of stopped, so I was open to it, but if it didn't come around, and he got to that point where nobody's really offered him anything. But he had such a great career. But he also was one of those actors that really didn't hit it big until like Bonnie and Clyde. That was his first major role. Again,
Mhm.
mentioned the Warren Beatty films from the 60s. That was the one that really changed a lot during the Code time. And then from there, he got a couple of things and then got nominated for The French Connection, playing Popeye Doyle. That really exploded him out into basically movie stardom. He'd also done like Poseidon Adventure. He ended up doing French Connection 2, just tons of movies. Modern day, a lot of people know him more for like Unforgiven, The Quick and the Dead, some of the Western stuff he did.
Unforgiven was great.
Yeah, it was a great film. He did a lot of comedies over the years. He did a lot of different things here and there. It's like the Mel Brooks. The appearance of Mel Brooks was he just went, I want to do something funny because he's always doing more serious roles. And
Yeah,
so the whole bit was just pretty much improvised with him being the old man in the cabin with the monster. And
yeah.
it was great, because when he leaves, I was going to make espresso, it's
Mhm.
like, and he's just so soft toned and everything else. But yeah, he's one of those guys that was a hardworking actor and didn't hit it big till really he was almost 40.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that, 40, but so many great actors don't hit it big till they're older anyways. But he had done some stage work, had been done some other work. It just like everybody had a job for a while to get him until he got going. And but then when he really got going as an actor in the movies, and he really did a lot of great films. I picked up one recently from Lionsgate. They did a special edition for the 50th anniversary of The Conversation. We studied that in one of my film classes, and just a fantastic film that, of course, not that I'm going to talk about today. It doesn't get a lot of replay. It doesn't pop up a lot of times. But for filmmaking, it's great because there's a lot of really cool ways that it sounds back in the 70s and how he basically was a PP Tom for the years. He would find and listen to people's conversations as part of his investigations.
Yeah.
So good film. Check it out if you can.
It looks like his last film was Welcome to Mooseport in
Yes.
2004 with Ray Romano.
Yeah, he was playing like the former president. I believe he was running for mayor.
Yes.
It's Ray Romano. So
yeah, he decided to run for. He was retired after 2 terms in office, returns to Mooseport, and runs for mayor.
yeah.
But he's such a great actor. Yeah, it's funny. Let's see, Unforgiven. They were playing old and retired people. That was 32 years ago.
Well, yeah, and he would have been 60, so 61
Yeah.
when he filmed it. So
And Clint Eastwood, he's still around
Clint
too.
Eastwood's about the same age. So
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood was around that same age. But Clint in that film looked older than Gene Hackman did by like a
Right.
decade or more.
Let's see. Born in 1930 was Clint.
Mm-hmm.
When was Gene Hackman born? 1930, same year. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, they're right on target. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, great career. I always love seeing him. He had such a powerful presence, even when he was doing nothing. He was just a strong character, strong person.
Oh yeah, and everything I've heard since his passing, everybody said how great a guy he was. The 2 kids that were in the Royal Tenenbaums that played the grandsons that had like wore the red track suits and had the kind of the white Jufro. One of the kids talked about him and how great he was with them, how much they learned from him. And then, of course, a lot of times didn't realize what they were learning because of the way he was, but said he was just constant professional. And then when he wasn't filming something, he'd sit off in the corner and read. And But yeah, everybody just said just an all around great guy, and I think that's because when you come from being an actor that spends 20 years trying to make it, and you're a little more humbled than some that get fame young and fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so we lost him. We lost Michelle Trachtenberg from
Yep.
Buffy, who played Dawn, as well as some other movies.
She's been fighting health issues.
Yeah, I didn't realize she had a liver transplant. They're saying that it
Yeah.
sounds like that she her body just rejected the liver. So,
Yeah.
and it was not expected. So, that's a shame. And that's but yeah, those two are like boom, boom. It was like, weird deaths. Like, okay, this is now the new trend.
Yeah.
So,
yep. So on to other news.
yeah,
Were you able to see Daredevil Born Again?
I did. I watched them last night.
Yep. So the first 2 episodes are out.
Loved it. I got to tell
Yeah.
you, it's a great way to relaunch the series. It's setting up everything that I like how they dealt with everything that happened from the first series till this one, and just a few words here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You had a nice little conversation between Matt Murdock and Fisk
Yep.
in a diner, and commenting on how things had changed and what was happening then. This is in the second episode, I think, or beginning of or end of the first, beginning of the second.
Yeah,
I watched them back to back, so I kind of blurred together.
Right, it kind of blurs.
It's been like watching a 2-hour movie, and I did like how the Echo series, he kind of glossed over that really quick. Yeah, I didn't have any kids. I did have someone I mentored, but that didn't work out, and it was kind of like, wow, that was a pretty quick thing. Yeah, so, but
And
I
just
love
like
what's
that,
going on.
she was forgotten.
Yeah, pretty much. But
although they did have the tracksuit mafia guys.
Well, those guys will always be around. They were the only thing everybody liked about that was the tracksuit mafia. So
the guy insults him. Not since you started wearing that tracksuit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the one of his close aides, though, that is James Gandolfini's son.
Yep.
And then he's not bad. It'll be interesting to see what he can do in this there. It was nice to see, and I don't want to talk any details of the role in the first 2 episodes, but to see Froggy and the other guy out there, and that great to see him pop up. They'd been announced they're not going to be through the whole series. They were just going to be at the early on, because this is really going a completely different direction than what we've seen before. So, but yeah, we'll talk a little more, I think, in depth on those two next week. So
overall, they're capturing that feel of the first. My only complaint is the opening fight is so CGI'd. There's so much CGI in it where like the actors are fully animated. Like,
yeah.
Well,
they did a lot of the flipping around and stuff like that, and they let some reason they seem to like that anymore, and I don't. I'd rather see a little more practical fights.
Well, like the first, I think they were trying to recreate the hallway fight scene.
Well, it looked like in a couple ways they were recreating that and then mixing it in with the Affleck Daredevil.
Yeah. So that I just wish it was a more of a practical thing, but like it was so the movements of like even secondary actors to me looked very obviously CGI. Like, so it just looked a little cartoonish parts of it. That was my only complaint. Other than that,
they did. It looked like elements they did layering of from other shots to add more depth in the shot, and then a lot of times it does take away from that. But
with
that really,
the original,
to me, it didn't bother me because I didn't care.
With the original Daredevil hallway scene, it was a long fight, one camera shot. There were a couple. It was edited. There were cuts, but they were very creative in how the cuts happened, so it felt like one continuous shot. I think they were trying to recreate that, but it was hard work doing all practical to get it to happen. So I think they did a lot of CGI.
Well, and they're going to have probably a fair amount of CGI in some of this stuff here because I don't know what their budget was, but I'm sure it looks good, but I don't think they got the budget like they would to do some of the stuff they'd like to do that because of the fact that it's a reboot and nobody knows how it's going to be taken versus what the original was. But I like what they've done so far. I like the story concept they're going with.
Fisk is great in this.
Yeah, and first thing I thought was wow, D'Onofrio has really lost some weight. So he's come down in everything.
Which they even mentioned.
Yeah.
They mentioned because he was in he was in the hospital for a long time.
Yeah.
Because he was shot in the head, right? And
yeah, they were able to.
Was that in the Echo series?
I don't remember.
Or was that there? I can't remember. But
They were able to deal with all some of the weight loss with the story and tie it in, which is fine. I think it's great. And then
yep.
so we're going to get a nice little mix of this political side of the Kingpin tying into the other stuff on the street. And what happens, and again, don't want to give too much in the first 2 episodes, I have a feeling we'll be coming back by mid-season.
Yeah. I do wonder.
Especially the first.
I mean, D'Onofrio is such a strong actor. I do hope this carries over into the Spider-Man films with Tom Holland. He makes a comment. I don't think this is a spoiler since it's in the trailers. He's running for mayor of New York. Yeah. And part of his platform is stop vigilantes. And he's like, we don't need a guy with a skull on his chest or dressed like a spider, meaning Spider-Man. And he's going to start, and he wanted to start a registration or something of vigilantes. So I wonder with the Mutant Registration Act, like in the X-Men, like I wonder if they're kind of starting to plant seeds for registering people.
I don't know.
So, because that would be a great way of using Fisk to bring it into the MCU movies and maybe creating that kind of, because that was a great storyline in the comics for the X-Men.
Well, and the registration thing was done not just for X-Men. They did that. That's what caused the Civil War in the comics. Was Tony Stark wanted all these, people like a Spider-Man, stuff like that, to come out and say, this is who I am in real life and not hide behind the mask. But I think that's where I could see that leading towards that a little bit, but tied into the Mutant Registration Act. Mutant Registration Act was long before the Civil War part of it.
Well, in the comics, but
and I'm talking comics. I'm talking comics. Yeah,
I'm talking MCU.
No, I know. I'm talking comics and how it lead into the MCU.
Yeah,
because we haven't had the mutants introduced yet into the current MCU. But if they go around that way, if they start, okay, we're going to start with the Superhero Registration Act, which would tie into MCU, which would be like starting here with Daredevil. That'd be a way to start it to then spread it into the bigger movies.
Yep.
And that would tie into some of that there. And they've already done Civil War. We've had Captain America Civil War as a movie, and that was Cap versus Iron Man. They did a different version of a Civil War than what we saw in the comics.
That one was around the Slovakia Accords or whatever it was called. I forgot what it was called. But that's what they used as the
But if they did that, and then with the introduction of mutants that just kind of being pushed forward, then I could see them going in, just making it a full power, superpowers registration act, which includes those that have mutant powers versus those that are superheroes.
And there's another vigilante. I'm not going to get into the who's or what's, so let people watch it. But there's a line where he's talking to Matt Murdock, and he says, "Well, it's not like I don't have the superpowers or extra abilities," or I forget how he worded it. He's like, "So it's not I'm just a regular guy." So so it is bringing in those are different kind of vigilantes because they have extra powers, or something. So, but I like where it's going. I think they've created a great entrance point as to why Matt Murdock is starting to come back out as Daredevil and those kind of things. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this season so far.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. And it's gonna go pretty quick here. I'm just gonna look up the.
Is it 2 episodes a week?
I think there's a couple weeks where there are 2 episodes. And that's what I was looking up for something here to see if I get a listing of the release dates. Yeah, here we go. So we got the first 2 already. So there's 9 episodes. So we got 1 next week, 1 the 18th, 2 on the 25th, then 1 on April 1st, and then April 8th and April 15th. So it's going to go
into Andor.
Yeah, and I think it's why they did that. And Andor is going to be dropping like 2 or 3 episodes a week.
I think there was some weeks 3 you read.
Yeah, I saw that online, and I think that has to do with because they're doing it as each of them is like a story arc within itself. Those episodes, so it's not it's one season, but they're doing it in separate pockets just because of the ending is what everybody knows. It's going to end up at Rogue One. or right before that. So they're doing these. Here's this story, this story, and this story that with Andor, that how he fell in each one of these things. We'll see more of some of the characters we saw in Rogue One that were already established with either in the main rebellion or the separate rebellion that was going on, that before they merged up as the Alliance. So
yeah, like that one soldier that's in Rogue One. He's a ground soldier. You see him a little bit. He kind of is like the leader of the other soldiers on the main raid on Scarif, and they really turned him into a strong secondary character. We are introduced to him in season 1, and now in season 2, it looks like he's going to be kind of alongside Andor quite a bit. So I like that they took a character like that and really developed him.
Yeah. Now, just back on Daredevil real quick. In this article I pulled up, their showrunner says they start filming this month for season 2. That's why D'Onofrio was supposed to be in Indiana in a week and a half, and him and a couple of people I know tied around the Daredevil had to cancel their appearances this month because they're back filming. So that's what's going on. So it's funny seeing people post on the Fans of Indiana page complaining. I'm like, I didn't comment, but I'm like, God, it happens all the time because they get other commitments, and they got renewed pretty much right away for season 2 because
with all their movie contracts and TV contracts, Comic-Con contracts are way at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that I think they just recently got renewed. So of course, right away, it's like, we want to have this for next year. They have to film now, not later.
Well, and, Charlie Cox, it's a physical role. He's starting to. I mean, how old is Charlie Cox?
He's getting there because he's been doing these for a while. So
Charlie Cox,
he's 42.
So these roles start. As someone who's 52, or actually 51, who just remodeled the home, you don't recover the same. My body still hurts.
And keep this in mind: he started doing Daredevil 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
So it's a whole different thing. So
yeah. Was it 10 years ago already? Wow. 10 years now. Let's see, 2015 to 2018. Wow.
So he started filming in 2014. Yeah. So he's been filming over 10 years off and on for this. And I've seen Charlie at a bunch of conventions over the years. And it seems to be a really nice guy. In that.
Definitely.
So, but definitely, and he's in good shape. But, it doesn't matter. You get up there. I mean, he's got this for a while. But the thing, too, is you want to strike while it's a little hot. And what I like is, where originally a lot of these Marvel series on Disney were trying to tie in more, they're now looking at like this and then saying this is its own thing, and they can allude to other stuff that happens around them. But they're going back to like how the comics were, which was, I can read Daredevil and it's just taking place right there. I don't have to worry about the rest of the world. They could tie him into something else that they want to, but I like having these little pockets of stories like this that really make sense. So
yeah, and in a world like the Marvel universe, it makes sense. You have different scales of heroes. Like Daredevil is a street level hero. He's he's not fighting Galactus. He's fighting
the Kingpin. He's fighting other vigilantes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's well done. I'm really looking forward to when we get the Punisher in here.
I saw in the trailer they show him, so we know he's going to be a part of this. I've not seen anything with him in the outfit. So what thing he has, but supposedly they're looking at doing another Punisher series. Have for a while, and I think if this has the good ratings, I think we should see if it's not already in the works. It will be, because I know a lot of the fans would love to see him come. I like John Bernthal as Punisher. I thought he did a great job.
He totally embodied that character.
Yeah.
Yep. So. Very cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So I watched that last night, and then I'd watched the season finale for that show Paradise I mentioned the other week.
Oh yeah.
So all 8 episodes are available to stream. So if you want to binge that on Disney, Hulu, definitely check that out. It has been greenlit for a second season. So for those that like to make sure that they're going to be doing another continuation, since it ends on a cliffhanger somewhat. But they do resolve the initial story for the first season to set up the story for the second season. So it's still an ongoing story, but the main catalyst to get the story going does get resolved. But it doesn't get resolved necessarily in a cut and dry way.
Yeah. Cool. So. I started watching Reacher season 3.
Yeah, I've been watching that too.
Yeah, so I started watching that. I got the first episode in. So it's just funny. I enjoy the series, so don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy it, but it's just funny that basically he just walks around all big and just no matter where he goes, it's like a problem arises and he's right there to stop it. Like
Well,
all the
this
time.
one from that first season, I think the whole thing was a complete setup for the
It
story.
was, yes.
I mean, it wasn't like they stumbled. He was intentionally
Right.
doing something for this, and I don't want to say too
Right.
much because it gets more into the story. But
Yeah. But I'm liking it. I like to see it's Anthony Michael Hall is in it, right? Isn't that the bad guy? Is it?
yeah,
Is he the bad guy in this?
yeah, Anthony Michael Hall's the bad guy in this one. I didn't think for a
Yeah.
second. Yep.
Yeah, I like him. He's developed into a great actor. Hard to believe he's the same guy who was like the nerd in all of the 80s movies of the Brat Pack. He was the nerd of the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
You know, Weird Science and all of those movies too.
Yeah, I like Anthony Michael Hall. He's a good
too.
actor all around. I like him in this role in this one.
I really enjoyed that TV series he was in, where like if he touched someone, he could like see their immediate future or something and knew if something was going to happen. You ever see that one?
Say that again.
A TV series.
Dead Zone.
Dead Zone. Yeah, I really like Dead Zone. That was a good series. It didn't last long though, but I like that one.
Yeah. No, that was a good one. That was based on the movie, which was Christopher Walken, and it was written originally by Stephen King.
Oh, okay. I never saw that movie. Very cool.
Comes back. Let me see. When did that come out? That was in the 80s, I think. 83.
Wow.
So you get a young Christopher Walken, you know. And it's based on the 1979 novel of the same name. So the film was done by David Cronenberg. Jeffrey Baum was the screenplay guy, and Stephen King did the original novelization. But you got good actors. You got Christopher Walken, you got Tom Skerritt, Martin Sheen. So we got some really good actors that are tied into that film. So it's something worth going and finding and watching. It's on Pluto TV for free, which is an app you can download on your streaming devices. So you can definitely watch it there, or you can rent it on multiple other ones. But I'd go to Pluto even with commercials and watch it because I don't believe they edit them. You just have to suffer through stupid commercials, at least to give you a timer. So
yeah,
and but the TV series was 2002 to 2007. So and I didn't really watch the series. I remember it was on. I just didn't really watch it. It was one of those. Maybe I'll have to go back and check it out. And that I mean I like Anthony Michael Hall and as a in the 80s, stuff like that. And I've seen him a few things here and there over the years. But definitely I think he's really grown into even an actor like right now. He's kind of like another one of that kind of Brat Package ones from the 80s, Spader. He's kind of in that look and age now where he can, play these kind of heavier either bad guys or pseudo bad guys a little more. Yeah. So, and I think this is a good role for him. Hopefully to spring off of that. Cause he's done, he's always been working. That's one thing. He's always been a constantly working actor. He is in that, but, and in fact, he did pop on the blacklist. So I pulled up his list here, but, I'd like to see him pop into something more like what he's doing in this role as maybe a regular. So, cause I like the blacklist wasn't bad. I didn't watch the entire series, but I watched the first several years. So,
yeah.
But yeah, watch those. Because really I've been watching a ton of stuff lately. I was gone over the weekend, got a chance to visit our pal Kevin for a couple days and just hang out and relax before we start up con season again we're supposed to be in London. I was supposed to be in London through today and heading home tomorrow, but that got canceled. Right. The show got canceled because of the wildfires. It's funny when you tell people, yeah, my show in London, England got canceled because of the LA wildfires. They don't understand. I said, well, trying to sign contracts with the celebrities. They didn't want to leave at the time because it just happened. So it was like, wow, 6 weeks away. I can't plan for that. Or, I got to rebuild or family. Yeah. Some of it's because they had family that lost their homes and things like that. So, and just because they're a celebrity doesn't necessarily mean they have tons of millions of dollars. There's some of these celebrities that they may have more than you and I have, but they're not sitting, so pretty that they can just say, it doesn't matter. I got 82 houses already,
Yeah.
They're not all Taylor Swift. Oh, nice neighborhood. I'll buy a house.
Right.
So, But other than that, yeah, it just I was looking at the box office, just nothing. Again, they want people to go to the film, not much to see. But I did look
Yeah.
at Captain America, and while I know we kind of talk about it being kind of a bomb, I compared it to, and I did this before the numbers. Like after I saw it, I compared it to the first Thor movie, and the first Thor movie, in terms of like feel and setup stuff like that, didn't do all that well. It did less than 200 million domestically. It was like 450 million, I think, worldwide, maybe 459, and it's close domestically to what Thor did in 2011. It's still like 100 million less worldwide. So it's not going to probably hit that. It might hit the number, but I doubt it because I only did like 14 million here this past weekend, and it was the number one film. But
Yeah.
so I think that it's going to do what it needs to do. It's going to be a placeholder in getting things going where they want to go in direction wise, and it's going to take a couple more films. Hopefully, Thunderbolts will be a lot of fun. If the trailer's an indication, I'm really hoping it's the better version of Suicide Squad that we should have got years ago.
Yeah.
And then Fantastic Four, so we can get into and really it's going to be everything's leading up to which we already know, which is the two Avengers movies, Avengers Doomsday and Secret War. So
yeah, for me, my hopes right now, Captain America, Brave New World, I was hoping it would be good, but I wasn't, let me hang that up. I wasn't overly optimistic. I was hoping it'd be good, but I knew the production problems they had. I knew when it was started. Thunderbolts, I have hopes for. I'm kind of setting the bar there where this is where I feel MCU has to start turning around.
Well, and I think the key is not just having a direction, but it's also they need these films that we're going to go in and have fun with. I think it's what helped Thor. The first Thor was just okay. It got you introduced to character. They did their story. I always thought it was just okay. Thor, the second one, and everything else, a little darker. It's still very kind of more on the serious. So and it's better now because it was more tied into their longer story. But we need more like what Guardians of the Galaxy 1, the Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
We need stuff that can help propel a story, but I want to be entertained where I want to pop these movies on and watch them again.
Well, the key to the first Thor, though, first of all, the MCU was a baby still.
Right.
At that time. So it wasn't much anticipation. The other thing is that movie, what was so critical about the first Thor movie is, you're sitting there like, I think it was Kevin Miner who says it. Like, who was the guy where like they're doing the production? Like, okay, your job is to come up with the Rainbow Bridge. Is like crap. Like, how do I do that? And they made it cool. Like somehow they made
they did a great they did a great job with the aesthetics.
Yeah, and it helped establish the MCU's future for the more outlandish. The magical, the gods, like how do you bring gods into this universe in a believable way? And I think it laid that foundation in a critical way. So I think that's where, while Thor won, the sales wise, it wasn't as big, but I think it paid off through the future vision it created for the wider universe.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I wasn't discounting that the first Thor. I was just trying to say I believe this current Captain America, and I felt this way after I saw it, did exactly what that Thor did. It had to establish a couple things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about being the end all beat all. And because they had already at that point, just like this, they knew at that Thor that they were already moving towards introducing all they want to do is these characters introduced to get to the Avengers movie. And that's kind of what we had here. And that's what this Captain America did was that too. I don't think if it's not going to be like some of the latter movies, like even like a Black Panther, stuff like that, we're going to come out and boom, here's $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
But I think by the time it's done, we're still looking at close to $400 to $500 million film. They had a lot of problems because of course they had to go back and reshoot stuff because Feige, his screw up was not having a direction at the end of Endgame,
right?
And just saying, well, we're just going to throw all this stuff out there. We got here's some characters, letting people kind of do what they wanted, and we see how that is. But then it's kind of like, okay, we got to reel it in because he realized that when I'm sure Bob Iger said, listen, fix it.
for me though, the key difference between the two is after Thor 1, I still wanted to see the MCU. nothing about Brave New World made me want to see more of the MCU. It's the anticipation of Thunderbolts that's making me want to see it. The Brave New World at this point, I'm fine if they scrap all that. And I liked Anthony Mackie as Falcon.
Yeah.
I liked him as Captain America when they first started that, but this movie sucked. It sucked.
Well, see, that's the way I felt about the first Thor. I really
Yeah.
thought it sucked, but I liked it to introduce, and it was hopeful we can get better with what they established. And that's what I saw with this current Captain America. I think Mackie will be fine going forward. We'll see him, but
yeah, my complaint with the Mackie version isn't Mackie. It's
no, it's
writing.
storytelling. The writing
It's
on this, you could tell, was very clunky, and they tried to fix some things in the story, even during the filming. And that's where, again, I blame that completely on the producing, which is the Kevin Feige, not the director, not the writers.
Yeah, they got to lighten it up. He's great when he's a little bit lighthearted.
They tried a couple times. You could tell they were trying to make a serious movie. They tried a couple times. And I think this is where they came in and interjected a few things.
Yep.
I think what they also screwed up on with this is, and part of it's because it's going into Thunderbolts. They had originally built Thunderbolts being completely separate from this. And what they should have done was there should have been more of a tie-in with Bucky in this one here to lead into the Thunderbolts. And that's where they screwed up on that. Where I think Thunderbolts is going to be able to establish some of these characters and then hopefully lead into some other stuff down the road. Of course, nothing's going to lead directly into the Fantastic Four because of the setting for that. Being that they're not Earth 616, they are set in the 60s, and the fact that we need to get them into the current thing as well as, get everything moving with the story to get towards the Avengers. So, but we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
So, but other than that, I mean, there's I was looking to see what's coming out again. They want us to go back to the theaters, and what's out there, man? Nothing, man.
Yeah, Jill and I every week we're like, oh, we gotta go to the movies. We open up and it's like, nothing there.
Yeah.
So we get popcorn and bring it home. We watch something. We'll have movie popcorn.
I've done that too. Yeah. No, I did see. They keep talking about the new Batman movie, and they're, we're gonna get filming that. I guess Pattinson came out and said, "Look, you guys need to get going this before I get to, unless I have to play the senior Batman." Because he's like, I'm not that young. He's not that young anymore. He's like what 40s, Well, and they want to go back. They keep dragging out getting this going here. So,
well, I think this ties back to same with like the problems Marvel had, where Feige didn't have vision to unify stuff. DC doesn't know where it's going. And they're doing these separate universes. Movies aren't connected. Pattinson was supposed to be a one-off. They didn't intend on but it was the only success they had. So, and then they did the Penguin series, which did really well. And now, so it's kind of being shoehorned in. So hopefully it's a good story.
Yeah.
I thought Pattinson did far better than I expected as
I had no desire to see it. You saw it and told me it was good. I waited, it came out, I watched it. I was like, wow, this actually was good because the trailer to me didn't look good. It looked like, oh god, this comedian is just kind of lame.
I had zero excitement for it and I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was well done. And I'm like, wow, okay, good for him. He did it. But so I think in typical DC fashion, just how they ruined the last universe, they don't know what they're doing. They throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks,
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I was looking at IMDb with upcoming dates on movie stuff like that. This weekend, nothing jumps out. I was like, oh, that sounds really great. They have a new Looney Tunes movie coming out the day the Earth blew up, and I haven't even heard nothing on that.
It's Porky Pig and Daffy Duck.
Oh wait, I did hear that. I heard they
save the world.
Yeah, I mean, that makes too bad. There's a new Last Supper coming out. Michael Fassbender has a movie called Black Bag. Novocaine with Jack Quaid. Again, nothing's like jumping like, oh, I have to see that, and then
I feel like Novocaine is just an alternate universe of The Boys.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I remember seeing that. But 21st is that Snow White. Nobody's going to care about that. After that, the next week, again, just kind of blah.
It's bleak.
Yeah, really, the next thing I see coming out now, April 4th, I don't care to see it. A bunch of the kids will probably want to go see is that new Minecraft movie. Now, there's a new Pedro Pascal. How many God, he seems like he pops up in
He is in everything now.
Yeah, he's got a Tom Hanks movie, him and called Freaky Tales. I don't know anything about that. And then let's see here. Looks like more independent stuff, a couple dramas.
Yeah, really nothing pops out at me.
The first thing that jumped out that I was like, oh, I kind of want to see that is April 25th, The Accountant 2 with John Berthal, Ben Affleck, J.K. Simmons. I liked the first Accountant movie. I thought that was really good.
I wonder what this is. One called The Amateur. Oh God, I'm forgetting his name. The guy who played Freddie Mercury.
Bernthal's in that too. The Amateur?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Julianne Nicholson, John Bernthal, Rachel Brosnan, and Catriona Balfe. But let's see here.
I like him.
Oh, yeah. This one actually doesn't look too bad. I saw a trailer for this one. It's got and they show Rami Malek.
Malek. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne's in it. This actually got a pretty good cast. This may not be too bad.
I really liked him in Mr. Robot.
Oh no, he was great in Mr. Robot.
Yeah, he did great. He was amazing as Freddie Mercury. Absolutely amazing. So
yeah, here we go. So that Freaky Tales also I mentioned real quick. I just switch over that. That's got Pedro Pascal and Tom Hanks and Ben Mendelsohn. It says in 1987, Oakland was hella freaky. So it's these crazy tales set back in the 80s in Oakland, California. Their love of music, movies, people, places. It says 4 interconnected stories. That might not be too bad. Don't think it's going to do well at the theaters, but it could be something that I can see people watching after the fact on home over time. But yeah, no, The Amateur, I did see a trailer for that, and I thought that looked decent. I thought it was a Netflix movie, to be honest with you. I didn't realize it was released in the theaters. But yeah, I saw where The Accountant 2 is coming out. They said I like the first one on that. And then Thunderbolts, May 2nd.
May 2nd. Okay, yeah. Cool.
So that comes out early in May. And then
Mission Impossible is in May.
Is that in May?
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably towards the end of the month, isn't it?
Maybe end.
Lilo and Stitch live action may do well because it's one of those things that could actually translate more to live action than that, but I don't think it's going to do tons of money, but it'll probably do decent. Mission Impossible May 23rd, and then The Karate Kid Legends May 30th. That didn't look too bad for a trailer. But again, going through everything, it's like mid-June you get the new How to Train Your Dragon live action, which I thought that looked good. And then I think for horror though, June 20th is that 28 years later. And that could definitely draw some people in, followed by Megan 2.0. So,
okay.
But really, yeah, there's still not a ton of stuff. I mean, Jurassic World Rebirth, I didn't think it looked bad, but I don't know how much it's going to draw everybody into the theaters. Superman July 11th, I think that as long as the trailers keep looking good, we'll have a good opening. And if it's a solid film, should run pretty well.
I'll see it when it comes out. As of right now, I got to say I'm not excited for it. Nothing about it is making me say, wow. Yeah. We'll see. I hope it does well. I hope James Gunn hits a home run here and revives this.
Well, and the things I've liked so far is it really kind of felt like they went and looked at Kevin Smith's script and said, okay, so he had it right by having a couple of these other characters and everything popping through and not just trying to do tons of origin stories.
Yeah, I'm glad they're moving on from the origin story and going into the story, and we know it. We know the origin story. And we can, if there's something different, just through dialogue, you can let us know what vital information we need to know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, like I said, there's a few here and there. Nobody 2 in August. I'm excited about that because I like the first one a lot. And
that was fun.
And that should be a good one there. And then they probably still have a few things to announce for later in the year. They've announced some of the things here and there, but I guess I got a new Saw coming out, but I don't have to jump on the Saw movie.
Oh, wait a minute, Fandango, they have the Batman Part 2, October of 2025. So
yeah, well, the article I saw was the article I saw with him was like, we got to get this thing filming. I don't think it's been filming yet.
Batman Part 2.
And I did see where coming out in November, they have Glenn Powell in the new Running Man remake. I got to be honest with you. I'm not as crazy about Glenn Powell as a leading man. I think he's good in some of the ensemble stuff, but I haven't been thrilled with him. It's like I tried to watch that
Oh
Twisters.
yeah,
When I watched that Twisters, one, I thought the story sucked, but two,
they're
he really annoyed the hell out of me.
they're really trying to force him as leading man on us.
Yeah. I mean, good for
I
him for
thought,
I look at this. Good for him for making a living doing this
oh
and wanting
yeah,
to get better. But he needs to step up and say, I need to do better films.
I liked him as I loved him in Maverick 2. Or
Yeah.
Maverick 1.
Or
Top Gun
Maverick,
Maverick. He was great as the cocky type of player. I feel like they're trying to make him the next Brad Pitt. That's what I feel like they're trying for.
Yeah. Well, he's failing miserably at that if they are. So,
And I guess they're going to make him the lead of the Top Gun franchise moving forward.
well, I could see that because Miles Teller has got too much else going on.
Yeah.
He's
But I
always
don't
doing
think
stuff. Tom Cruise is going to continue on, but I personally think
Yeah.
like this: they're supposed to do a Maverick 2, and I put it to rest. We don't need to have every 3 years a new Top Gun Maverick movie coming out.
and Tom Cruise is starting to show his age. It's finally catching up to him. So he can only do these crazy action roles so many times.
Well, it's because he's in his 60s now, and it's starting to look there. So
yeah, this last 2 years, you can see the physical changes, even in his face. You can see it. And before you know it, he's going to be throwing old man punches.
Well, he's kind of getting that way now. So
yeah,
I think that we see what he does with the new Mission Impossible, which is his last one. So, but we'll see. I don't know. Again, movie wise, they want to start going back. They need to get back to the art of creating fun movies, and not just going and remaking the stuff we loved as kids. I'd love to see some newer stories. We've talked about storytelling before. There's not always something new per se, but there's a new way of telling it. And they talk about we should do a Goonies too. No, just create something new. You want a good kid adventure? Find a good kid adventure, but don't make it so safe that it's boring, and don't make it so ridiculous that people go, "What the hell is this crap?"
Right.
Make it fun. Goonies was fun because it felt like real kids, and that's what they need to look at. Granted, kids today only sit on their phones and their tablets and their computer screens, but
yeah, making a movie about kids today. The whole movie is them sitting in silence, texting to each other.
Yeah. So, and I bet you someone would make $100 million doing that. So other than that, that's all I got this week, man.
All right. Same here.
Well, I guess we'll see you all next week. Talk to you later. Bye.
Catch you later.